From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Brayden, Neville.
On today's episode, Bo Levi Mitchell will be your starting quarterback against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he talks to us about making that first start since July 28th. Coach O speaks on why he chose to go with Bo to start the game and what needs to be done against Saskatchewan, and Brian Simmons breaks down the upcoming matchup. It's Friday, October 6th, 2023, and you're listening to Ticats Today. You heard the headline. Bo Levi Mitchell will be your starting quarterback against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he will make his first start in over 2 months tomorrow night in Regina. It's exciting news out of Hamilton today, but it's time for him to get into the game, and he's rejoining the team just in time for this final stretch. Although Bo is getting the start, it's likely we will see Matthew Schultz in this game, and maybe even for the majority of the game, depending on what Coach O decides to do. But it'll be good for Bo to get in some valuable reps and for us to see him. He hasn't played in quite some time, and if he's going to be the guy in the playoffs, he needs to get in those in-game reps. Dylan Wynn has also been activated this game and will dress. He will fit in at defensive tackle behind Casey Sales. Receiver O.C. Kusi will also get the start at wide receiver. Keandre Smith will just move down to the slot, and then Tyreek McAllister will be behind him on that depth chart. So some moves here for the Ticats, a little bit different, but for the most part, everything's staying the same. But as I mentioned, Bo Levi Mitchell will be making the start. Coach O spoke about those moves and Bo getting the start today.
Yeah, the first thing is just for Bo to be Bo. You know, this has been an anticipated time internally, meaning for Bo, right? And we weren't going to rush this. We didn't know when this would happen. We wanted to take our time, and then when we thought he was ready, we give him another week, maybe another week and a half sort of thing. So meant everything we said before, and that was just simply that we wanted to make sure that Bo was ready mentally and physically, and we're satisfied that both of those boxes are checked. So we just want Bo to be Bo.
Kyle Loxley goes in at the third string. Is that because of his versatility at being able to play receiver and play multiple positions?
Yeah, all four quarterbacks will be with us the whole time. They're always, Taylor will make the trip. This is just a short yardage situation. Kai's come in and done a very nice job. All three quarterbacks are capable of doing short yardage. We just felt for this football game that this was the direction we wanted to go. This has no reflection on play or anything else other than just that Kai was going to handle our third down duties or short yardage.
Dylan Wynn also, he's back in the lineup. What have you seen from him this week getting ready for this?
Well, just a person that's hungry, excited to get back. I thought Jared Hewitt's done a fantastic job for us there. When Dylan was healthy and ready to go, we knew that we were going to insert him back in the lineup. And, he's going to have to play himself back into shape and that sort of thing. So it's not like he'll be out there the entire time. But we look to get a spark from Dylan.
A little bit of a switch up at receiver. You have Keandre going to the slot and then O.C. Kusi out wide. The thought process behind that?
Well, this is actually injury related. With Tyler going down, Keandre is, first of all, he's a smart person who's always been that way since we've drafted him. He didn't just learn his position; he's learned the multiple positions across the board. So this isn't a huge transition for him. We just thought that this was the direction we wanted to go. Chris has been waiting all year for more opportunity, so O.C. Kusi will go outside for us there, and then we'll just take it one play at a time.
That was Coach O. Bo Levi Mitchell also spoke today about getting in his first start in over 2 months. And if you can remember, Bo Levi Mitchell fractured his lower leg on the second last play against the Ottawa Redblacks back in July. It was a tough-looking play. It was scary to watch, but here he is back in the lineup. He spoke about getting his first start and even answered a question from fellow quarterback Taylor Powell.
I'm excited. Yeah, it's an exciting time to get back and play football, be out there with the boys. I love being on the sideline, helping this young buck out with the headset on, but I enjoy playing football, so it's going to be a fun time to get back out there.
How have you felt this week getting back into football form?
Man, really good. Yeah, we got a lot of support around us. I think we're creating a game plan that looks strong, and I think we're confident in. Now, they can come out and do different things, but mentally I feel good, physically I feel good, and I think the boys are confident and ready to go.
The O-line was one of the most efficient in the league last week. What have you seen from that group in your time on the sidelines?
I think constant improvement every week. They're by far one of the most coachable groups on this team, and they stay, honestly, in the film room longer than anybody else. So, they're in there a long time just watching technique, watching certain blitzes. They don't really ever leave a stone unturned. I mean, they're looking at every single, stunt, any blitz you can run. They're figuring out and they're talking, communicating with each other, right? Center, guard, talking to tackles, talking about receivers coming in to help. Running back, where's your help at kind of thing. And I think it leads to a successful day because there's never really a surprise when it comes to game day.
What can you say about the Saskatchewan defense you're going up against?
Strong front, well coached on the back end. I think they've gone through a lot of injuries, as it seems almost a lot of teams have this year. But some of theirs have been kind of on that back end. And I think, a lot of, media stuff is coming out about them saying, hey, you got to stop the run, you've got to do this. I think they're like any other team in the sense that, anytime you lose a game, people are going to criticize what you're doing. Anytime you win, hey, you're one of the best teams in the league. So, I saw what Micah said the other day, and he's obviously a former teammate. When they're on, and they're hard to beat. And just like any team, when they're off, they're off. They rely on that front to get to you. They've got a great Mike linebacker that makes sure everybody gets lined up, gets in the right spot. He's been in the league for a really long time. And they've got a D coordinator that's been, doing creative things the entire time he's been in that position, and he's continued to do it and change things up. So I've always had, good games, bad games against them. It seems like there's always some high points and some low points. So I don't think you're ever going to get the same picture from them. They're going to keep throwing stuff at you until they find out what works, and they keep giving that to you.
You've been in a lot of big games and a lot of playoff pushes and playoff games, but for those guys who haven't been, what are you kind of messaging to them and maybe some of those younger players who haven't been in a stretch like this?
Yeah, I mean, I try to just, get guys to understand, first of all, we have a lot of veterans on this team, but we have, you got Chris Van Zyl, a guy that's been in the league for, what seems like 20 years. He's been with Scott, back in Toronto back in the day. I even asked him to say something to the guys. I just understand, hey, yes, we clinched playoffs last week, right? And everybody, it's a super, big high. Everybody in the locker room celebrating. But it's not just about getting to the dance. The whole point is, you get that ticket to the dance, now you have to improve and get better leading into playoffs. And I told him, I was like, listen, I've lost 2 Grey Cups at 15-3 and 14-4 to 99 teams. And it's because both those teams got hot at the end of the year and kept playing great throughout the end of the year. So our job right now is to not think that we can be complacent or think that we've made it and just coast into playoffs and then try to turn it back on, because that's just not how it works. In this league, you've got to get hot and continue to stay hot going into that last game, through that last game, into your first game, so that you're not missing a beat and taking the whole first quarter, second quarter to get ready in that playoff game. So the message has just been, hey, treat this like any other game. They're desperate right now. They're trying to win and keep their playoff hopes alive. Our job is to make sure we do everything we can to go out there and win a football game.
What's it like being the second best golfer on the team?
Well, that's a tough one. How good you are talent-wise is really, opinion based, and I like to keep things more statistical based. So when I look at the fact that the guy who thinks he's the number one golfer is 0-2 versus me, and he choked on 18, and I made the 10-foot putt to win. It's hard to ever say that guy's better than you. It's the same thing, this. It's the same thing on ping pong with Tyler Chanowski. He thinks he's the best ping pong player, but he's 0-3 against me the last 3 games, and I just think numbers speak for themselves.
Thank you, Bo.
That was Bo Levi Mitchell answering that final question from Taylor Powell. I guess they might have a little rivalry going on the golf course, but great to see Bo back on the field. Joining me now to break down the game on Saturday night is Brian Simmons. Brian, another key matchup for the Ticats Saturday night. They take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders, playing in a very loud building. In your experience, how much can that noise in Regina play a factor in a game on an offense?
Honestly, Brayden, it can play a heavy factor. I know me as being a tackle, I was usually the furthest lineman away from the ball, so we would often go in a silent count going into those games, and your peripheral vision has to be like no other. Timing has to be great, and you got to try to keep the crowd out of it, And as a pro, you played a lot of these guys, especially from the States, have played in big time university games and stuff. So I'm not saying that they're poo-pooing at this, but it's not their first time in a very loud stadium. But I will say this to anyone who hasn't played in that stadium or Winnipeg, it can be extremely surprising to see how loud it can get in those stadiums.
Yeah, and that's kind of what everyone's been saying throughout the week, and especially you playing at that position. You're close to the crowd. Is it almost get in your head a bit? It kind of changes the way you approach the game on offense, and it kind of makes you play differently, like in terms of play counts and all that.
Well, yeah, it can, especially if you have a what I like to call just an elite pass rusher, because
Hmm.
those guys they'll time up the head bobs of the center, and or they'll time up when the guard turns around and looks to get the cadence from the quarterback. A
Hmm.
smart player can time that up. I mean, there's sometimes where I've actually jumped the count to meet some of these elite DNs, and sometimes the ref lets you get away with it, sometimes they won't, but it definitely it can make you play a little different, especially if it's a competitive game. If you're
Yeah.
trailing or if you're in the lead, the crowd is not that loud.
I think the biggest question I need to get into going into this game is who's going to be the quarterback. Who do you think should see time in this game? Should it be multiple guys or should it be one guy?
I mean, in all honesty, is we need to win this game.
Yeah.
So I think you really should. If I was a coach, I would be prepared to play any of the guys. I would probably go in with whoever I felt best. Starting us out and see how he does.
Yeah.
I think Bo could handle a return in this type of atmosphere, but also it's like, if you feel like you can get it done with someone else, why not give him an extra week to get ready? And who would want to come back from injury in a home game versus a road game?
Yes, and it would be his first home game of the season if Bo does start next week. So I know he really wants to perform in front of this home crowd, but it's nice. It's a nice problem to have. You have three quarterbacks who we've all seen throughout the season that can get the job done. Another guy who's approaching a milestone is James Butler. He needs only 58 yards to reach 1,000 yards rushing for the second straight season. Brian, if you had to guess, who do you think was the last Ticat to get 1,000 yards rushing? This is a really tough question. I didn't get it right. It was
Ooh,
in it was in 2010. It was in 2010.
2010. Oh, that's before I played.
Okay. So I'll tell you, it was DeAndre Cobb. So it's been since
Uh,
2010
wow.
that they haven't had a 1,000 yard rusher, which is crazy. But do you think he
Yeah.
gets it? Do you think he can get it done here in this game against Saskatchewan?
I think he can get it done, and in all honesty, Braid, I think he needs to get it done. I think over the past few games we've seen, the formula and the recipe of when this guy is making successful plays and getting touches, it just makes the entire offense flow so much better, whether that be carrying the ball or receiving the ball. So I definitely think he'll get it. I'll be surprised if he doesn't.
I think that's something JB has set his sights on. He hit 1,000 yards rushing last year. He said that his goals are even higher this year. But to hit that 1,000 yard plateau, then he doesn't have to have me asking him about it every day. I'm sure he wants to get it done as early as possible. Saskatchewan's offense also has some weapons. They have a pretty pass heavy offense, I guess you can say. Jake Dalagala, quarterback, likes to throw the ball a lot, and they have three receivers with over 800 yards receiving. So they're the only team in the league to have that with Jones, Amelis, and Bain. How much or how on point does the secondary need to be in this game, especially with so many threats and a quarterback who likes to toss some nukes around, who likes to throw the ball deep?
Well, I will say this. I think the opponent they had last week, in a sense, it kind of prepared them for this matchup in a sense, because I do feel like Calgary, their passing game is they don't really stretch the field as much as Saskatchewan tries to.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I do think they are going to be tested vertically a lot. In a short passing game, I honestly I thought they played a great game last week in that secondary. I mean, when you play an offense that throws the ball that much, they're going to get theirs. They're going to
Yeah.
make plays, but the guys did a great job tackling. You didn't see a lot of yards after catch. Rack running after catch, nothing like that. So I felt like, I think they'll do well, and they just continue to keep going and keep progressing. Hopefully the team can streak into the playoffs.
Do you think had Montreal's game been before Hamilton's that maybe they'd be looking at that to kind of decide from there what their lineup's going to be? Because I know this game means a lot regardless, but had Montreal clinched, we may have seen a different Hamilton Ticats roster on the field.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's very possible for multiple reasons. Letting guys rest and always, evaluating, guys that you maybe haven't got a chance to see in live game action. See how they respond and how they do. So yeah, I do think the results of that it could have changed things.
This Ticats defense, I think, has been spectacular over the last several games. How important is it that they disrupt that offense and get a sack maybe early in the game or get a couple big plays to kind of throw them off their rhythm here?
Well, Saskatchewan, they're experiencing a losing streak right now.
Yeah.
And I've been a part of those before, and it's when the team is down like that, at the same time, I mean, it's like you gotta show them why they've been losing, remind them why they've been losing. But at the same time, you saw what happened when we played Edmonton coming into Hamilton. You know, when the team is down, they're willing to do anything. You know, they're willing to trick plays. They're willing to, scratch and claw to the end. So I just think as a whole, those guys have to be ready to expect anything and deal with anything and just try to disrupt, because when you're dealing with the offense that likes to stretch the field, usually it takes time to make those plays develop. With that said, that should give the pass rushers more time to get, to the quarterback. So as a D lineman, this is the kind of game you kind of dream of because you actually have a chance to get back there.
I want to talk about the special teams quickly. I'm going to make a prediction, Brian. I predict that Tyreek McAllister is going to run one back finally. There's going to be no penalties on the play. He's going to run back. It's either going to be a kickoff or a punt. I'm not sure, but I think tonight's the game. Do you agree? Or Saturday's the game?
You know what? I think it'll happen tomorrow as well. T-Mac he's been making plays and nothing's been happening for him. Like I know it's frustrating, but I mean the thing I like about it is he still keeps approaching it, and he works hard at it. And Rombo is, in all honesty, he's probably one of the best special teams coaches I've been around, so he really has those guys prepared, to the point where I feel like I could coach special teams just from hearing all of his sayings and stuff. So, and it makes sense. So, but yeah, I definitely think he wants to get another return in. I think it'll be tomorrow. It has to happen soon.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's ran probably the distance of half the distance to Toronto this season for about 2 points. So it would be nice to see him get rewarded. Brian, if you may, give me a few keys to victory for the Ticats.
Offensively, as usual, you have to establish a Butler. You do. And who's ever at quarterback, he has to continue to make, just those quick decisions and try not to make as many penalties and, just eliminate dumb football. Let's play smart football. You're on the road. You don't want, the crowd to get too involved. Let's put the crowd to sleep early. And defensively, just getting pressure, making plays and, realize that, these guys are trying to stretch the field, but if I stop them, here and there, I can eliminate that. And, try to make them do the things that they don't want to do. You don't really see them run the ball as often. Let's try to, make them rely on some other things as well for their offense.
Brian Simmons, once again, thanks for joining me today. And hopefully we get a W here on Saturday night and we can talk about it next week.
Yeah, hopefully so, Brayden. All right, man, you take care.
Big thanks to Brian Simmons, Coach O, and Bo Levi Mitchell for being on the show today. The game on Saturday will be a special one, especially in the province of Saskatchewan, because they've declared Saturday, October 7th, will be George Reed Day in honor of the late Rough Riders running back. Premier Scott Moe made the announcement on Thursday alongside Parks, Culture, and Sport Minister Laura Ross and Social Services Minister Jean Mikowski. Reed passed away on Sunday, just 1 day shy of his 84th birthday. The native of Vicksburg, Mississippi, spent 13 seasons with the Riders, carrying the ball 3,243 times for 16,116 yards and 134 touchdowns. He retired in 1975 as the CFL's all-time leading rusher. That's a mark that wasn't passed until Mike Kringle achieved that in 2004. He still remains the league's all-time leader in rushing touchdowns and 1,000-yard seasons. He has 11 1,000-yard rushing seasons. A 10-time All-Star, Reed was named the league's most outstanding player in 1965 after setting a franchise single-season record of 1,768 yards. A year later, he earned the Grey Cup's most valuable player as the Riders took home their first championship. So condolences to his family, and great to see that he's going to be honored. Such a special career, such a big impact on the CFL, and definitely one of the greatest players to ever play in the league. That's all the time for me today. I want to thank you for listening to Ticats Today.